So due to technical difficulties, we're hosting the stream on my channel, so it's a little bit impromptu as opposed to the CWA channel. But once again, I'm Matt Black here with the talented Comito, and we're interviewing Cybershadow, who is one of the game maintainers of Worms Armageddon. He's been working on updates for the game along with Dead Code for the past like 20 years, really long time, hugely important part of the community. And yeah, we're just here to ask him some questions and see what surprises he may have in store. Uh, and yeah, we're just gonna do an interview here. So yeah, Cyber Shadow, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Um, yeah, it's always cool to chat with people that we haven't seen the faces of for for our whole lives. Um, so to start the interview off, we're just gonna ask the hardball question first. How many worms have you killed?
Gosh, I don't know, probably like 10,000.
10,000.
Eh,
I mean, that's okay. That's
eh.
that's not bad. But I mean, we've had higher numbers on this show, so well,
I'm sure.
well,
I think Dead Code is the current leader for that, considering all the TA testing that he does.
I don't doubt. I mean, the simulations he runs, you don't want to know.
right.
Yeah.
We don't know who has the highest worm body count, but we'll find out someday. I do feel like you or Deadco though, you could create a worm killing like program that just it automated
Ah,
kills worms.
that that doesn't sound evil at all.
No,
Not the slightest.
not to us, not to us wormers.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
Don't call it
maybe for
body
you.
count. Yeah. What's your body count in worms? We don't want that. Cyber Shadow audio is a little bit too low. Yeah, we've
Ah,
tried. He's tried fixing that already.
okay, I'll fix that as we go.
What
Um,
you could do, if you're using OBS, you can apply a filter which can give an audio gain, which will make it all a little bit louder, but then you can make me quieter, if that makes sense.
yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. All
Cool.
right, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'll ask the next question that we've got here. So, Cyber Shadow, when did you start playing the game, and did you start with Worms 1, Worms 2, or Worms Armageddon, or another?
thank you. So I started in, I think it was 2004, and it was Worms World Party, actually.
Ah,
That was the Worms game that I found. It was in a jewel case on a disc at the flea market. And yeah, I mean, as usual, it was a very fun game to hot sit with my real life friends. I mean, there was the times when you would just grab a game and go to someone's house and install it and just play with the whole family. Yeah, and then I discovered the forums around 2006 and discovered Worms Armageddon. Armageddon was actually the hot stuff online. And I switched and then I started tinkering with it. And that's how we got here.
yeah, and I'm glad that we're here. How's things on your end, Ma Black? Any progress?
Uh, yeah, I turned up the volume a bit. Let me know if Cyber Shadow's still too low, guys. So, yeah, I also started on Worms World Party. Um, after starting on Worms 2 for like a couple months or something. But yeah, there was something
Yeah.
about that game. I think World Party was like a lot of people had like heard of Worms or played Worms once, and then everyone was like, "Oh, there's a new Worms out," and then it turns out to be the same as the previous two entries, like pretty much exactly. But we didn't really care. It was just like, okay, this one's the latest. Everyone must be playing it. For a time, a lot of people were playing it, but then people moved backwards to Worms Armageddon because, well, you guys were updating it. You and Dead Code were like providing all these cool updates. And by probably like 2004 or 5, it became clear to everybody that Worms Armageddon was actually the best of the original trilogy and not World Party
Oh yeah.
because all the bugs were getting fixed and like I don't know, all the good players were there. There was that too. So
I definitely, I definitely remember my little love affair with Worms World Party, and the thing that brought me back to Worms Armageddon was the fact. Oh, by the way, my black, see on my picture, you've got a button clicked, and it's like showing a little thing that's hiding
oh
my
sorry,
face. But yeah,
sorry. Yeah.
my
Okay.
that's okay. It's just so I don't scare anybody. You can put it back if you need. But yeah, I remember moving over to Worms World Party when it came out because I thought it was going to be Worms Armageddon but improved. But then it had a lot of issues that Worms Armageddon didn't. Like you couldn't tab out, you couldn't minimize during the game, which was very frustrating for me, personally speaking. And also when Dead Code started applying updates, like replays and things like that, being able to make your own maps and stuff, huge maps, that brought me back and I've never looked back.
Yeah, it's been hugely important. Also Cybershadow, were you the one who fixed the color bug on Worms Armageddon? If you remember that.
Uh, that bug has a really long history. I mean, I remember we had a lot of trouble with it on Windows XP,
Mm.
but I think it was there even before then. I think sometimes it even happened like on Windows 98, which is like Worms Armageddon's native platform. Yeah, when another application stole focus, that definitely happened. I guess the ultimate fix for that was to transition to TrueColor. I don't remember who implemented that. It might have been me. It's been quite a long time ago. I remember I did work quite a lot on the graphics stack. So uh, yeah, I mean that if your problem is that you have too many options in the graphics drop down to choose from, then you have me to blame for that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I seem to remember that bug just being the bane of everybody's like existence. Like you would minimize the game. Sometimes your colors would come back inverted and all messed up. It was very annoying. And I think it also existed on Worms World Party, so that was another reason people like abandoned that. It's like sometimes you minimize your game there, it crashes, or you have the color bug, you can't unminimize it. So, yeah, Armageddon's superior in basically every way at this point due to all these updates.
Yeah, what many people don't
Yeah.
realize is Worms Armageddon is technically an 8-bit game. If you define like the graphics and the graphics format, it uses 8 bits, 256 colors, and that's how all of the graphics is done. And even up to today, even when we use the 32-bit mode, it still uses 8-bit under the hood. And
Yeah.
also,
Okay.
Echo has been tinkering on getting actual true color in the game.
Quickly, my black. Sorry. KRD is asking, could you make him even louder if you can?
Sure, sure.
You know what? I'm gonna speak up. So I
Yeah.
hope that should fix it. And
It
please do
sounds
remind me
fine
if I
to
start
me.
to.
Yeah, that would help. Okay, and let's see, moving on here. Also have to it's capturing part of my questions here. Just got to move that. Um, so let's start at the beginning, I guess. So like, how did you become a maintainer of Worms Armageddon alongside Dead Code? Like, did you contact Team 17? Did you contact Dead Code? Did they contact you?
Sure. So what happened was that I was making stuff like official mods, starting with I don't remember. I think it was WormNet 1, and then I made something else, and then I realized that it was just too clunky to have all of these mods. Like you had to choose one at a time or something. That's how I realized that we need some kind of mod loader, and that's how WormKit came about. And yeah, I released WormKit, and then I think the initial release had 3 or 4 modules, and I kept posting like these things on the forum, and that was a time when we had an awesome Team 17 managed forum. And it was like a forum at team17.com. It had professional moderators from Team 17 who were online. It was an art forum with a very vibrant community. And also, Spage, Martin Brown, the director of Team 17, was active on that forum as well. He was posting, replying, interacting with the community. Those were truly different times. But one thing that happened was that in a thread where Spage was active, it was Lex who essentially posted a recommendation post in my favorite and essentially asked on behalf of the Worms Armageddon community to make me a maintainer. And I don't know, I guess some things happened behind the scenes, some conversations were had. Next thing, I got an email from Martin Brown asking for details and questions, collaborations. Then I got a CD in mail with the source code. Then we got it rolling with that code.
That's crazy.
That's great. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know Lex had a hand in this. He was the one doing the dealings in like smoke-filled dark rooms with Team 17, paying money under the desk. That's really cool. So Martin Brown, Spage, he apparently has an eye for programmers. Why don't more companies do this? Maybe more companies do, but I just don't know about it since I'm like stuck to Worms. But that's really wild that he sort of recruited both of you guys, and you both have been like such huge assets to the community. Yeah, I feel like in some ways like we as a community have lucked out in the sense that you guys have been like so motivated to like work on the game.
100% agree.
Also,
like you were on about like WormKit. The WormKit module alone is one of the most important things to me. I need it for the WormKit module remap keys, and through that we ended up getting things like phased worms. Like WormKit is such a great addition to the game. The game wouldn't be the same without it. So a personal thank you for that invention. And I think because you've mentioned it, Mablack was wanting to ask, what was your main reason for inventing WormKit?
Well, a note on something you said. The WormKit is actually really simple. All it does is load DLL, and then later we move the functionality in the game itself. But there was really nothing about it. So I can only claim first comer's rights, I guess, because if I wouldn't have come around, someone else would have published a module loader.
Yeah.
And it's a standard thing if you're a PC gamer. Like Terraria has C-mode loader, and then there's like standard loaders for Unity games that work with most games, things like that. So this is just one that is a little bit special in that it supports only Worms Armageddon, but you could actually load CLLs into any executable if you just ask it the right way. I'm so sorry, I forgot your original question. Sorry for the tangent.
Is it the one I asked or the one that Mablack asked?
Oh, was it that what motivated me to create WormKit?
Yeah. So what was the main reason? What was your inspiration for creating and inventing the WormKit module? Was it something you thought the game needs this? Or maybe you wanted something to be implemented into the game that didn't exist, and that was a sort of bridge between your ideas, your desires, and the reality of being able to exercise those ideas within the game?
Yeah, I guess if I remember correctly, the most important module at that time for me was the WormNet module, because what it did was it allowed people to connect even if they didn't have the ability to forward a port, or maybe they didn't want to figure out how. And the first version of WormKit, it was really clunky still,
Mm.
It was nothing like the second version, which is a lot smoother, but it was still a big thing for me because it allowed me to, well, play with people online with whom I couldn't play online, and then let others do the same thing.
Yeah. It's so has that got some, because I don't see a question here for it, but is that because it's sort of related to hosting buddy in a way. So you've got Warnat too. Did you have any? I don't know if I've discussed hosting buddy before, but did you have a hand in creating hosting buddy?
Hosting Buddy was actually not created by me. Uh, it was created, I think his nickname was Light. He was like a shooting star in the community. Like he came, he created Hosting
Uh,
Buddy, and then he helped maintain a little bit, handed it off, and then he went up to a few other awesome stuff.
because
That's
it's
strange.
great.
Uh,
Like us old school players like myself, I like to do the port forwarding myself. But then you came up with Wormnat, and because of that idea, because I've got the two PCs here, I can host from one using Wormnat and join from the other computer. Without Wormnat, that's not possible. So it's such a great feature. It means that I can play BNG on a really weird resolution, but stream it on a proper 1080 resolution. Because the last time I tried to stream a BNG game, Dead Code gave me a row. He didn't like that at all. So yeah, thank you for warming that. That's a great thing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And yeah, like most people are not used to like having to do like the port forwarding thing. Like at this point, it's like the average new player who comes in is just like, give me some other option. I don't know. I've never typed in an
Yeah,
IP address to my browser. I've never changed my browser settings. Or I mean my
yeah.
my router settings.
wow,
Um,
definitely different times. I mean, I think these days you 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 can't even like not everyone not everyone's internet service provider even gives people the option to forward a port.
Yeah.
Right. Also, like I think some of that stuff came out around when a lot of us wormers were going to college and we encountered that okay, in our dorm rooms or whatever, we can't actually like host games. Like that was totally for me. I was like, "Oh God, I'm so used to being able to just host a game, but now I can't. I have to use the stupid dorms like internet." Ah. So I think that's a
Yeah.
it's probably an ongoing problem. Um for college bound wormers. And
We do have, sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to say we do have the hosting guide on. So this could actually follow into the next question if you want to ask that, because you founded the Worms knowledge base. If you want to ask that one, Mablack.
Yeah. Um so yeah, Cybershadow, you founded the Worms knowledge base at worms2d.info. So how did that idea come about? And are you happy with how much the site has progressed?
I'm definitely happy, and I'm happy that a lot of people found it useful. For as for its history, well, originally it was just my personal wiki. So I had a wiki at wiki.thecybershadow.net, and then as we as we it kept accumulating content, it became clear that the most important content on that wiki was related to Worms Armageddon. So we decided to just promote it, to give it its own domain name and like give it its own style. We had a nice collab with like a bunch of people who helped out with the layout and the art. Then we launched it.
Awesome. I mean, at this point it has what? It has like it has so much information about worms. It has a list of important people, which it's kind of strange for a wiki to have that, but I love it. I love that that's a thing. It has like some game logic stuff, which I feel like I should contribute more to. 'Cause it covers a lot, but there's even more to cover. Uh, what else is on Worms 2? There's like
So
info about all the weapons. There's
Yeah,
like there's
and
a hosting
Terminator
guide.
added a bunch of stuff for the first generation games too.
Oh yeah, so it has Worms, Worms 2, Worms World Party, Worms Armageddon. We could even expand it. Like I've gotten a lot of knowledge about like Worms Revolution now and like Worms Reloaded and Worms WMD. Although that might be going too far. I don't know. It's too many, possibly too many titles.
No
what was
reason why
that?
we couldn't. Like, if we added info about the 3D games, that would be a little self-contradictory because the website is Worms 3D.
Right.
But
Well, every single time I design a map for Worms Armageddon, I'm on that website because it's got a list of all the resolutions that work perfectly. And if you don't have that resolution, the map won't load. So that's one of my. I've got the Stream Deck. I press a button, it opens up that web page. It's brilliant. So there's a question from the chat here for you, and this is one that everybody asks, and well, some of us already sort of know the answer, but Nadal Dingo is asking you, Cybershadow, is it possible to add some ranking system in Worms Armageddon? Is that something that we have or you guys have planned in the future at any point?
yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it ever since ranking disappeared from WormNet, right? And it's just such a complicated problem due to all of the constraints we have. A lot of people, I mean, even outside the dev team, have brainstormed and considered the problem from many angles. One of these is that we probably don't want the ranking system that was there in the original WarmNet because it's just not useful to a lot of these teams that are played today and for many decades now. The other is that, well, we have source code of the game, but we don't really have that much access to the official WarmNet server.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to add support for ranks, we couldn't do it on the official server. It would have to be like some kind of add-on system that was on top of it, but actually worked alongside it, or it would have to be a whole new WarmNet server. And we've been very slowly moving into the latter direction. And I think people who have been following like the recent 5-10 years, I mean, they've seen 3 generations of WarmNet servers written by me, 3 in Pascal and 1 in C. All of these are open source, but also they are the base of, if we were to have a community WarmNet server, then it would be based on it.
So the thing that I think is quite obvious to many of us older sort of players is in order to even have a good matchmaking system, like an automatic matchmaking system, if you've ever played like any other game that has like for Rocket League, for example, you click a few buttons, it finds players that are close to your skill level, and boom, you're in a game. That I think is a major problem for Worms Armageddon because there's like so many of the schemes you've got players who are away up here, and then the rest are away down here. There's not a lot in the middle. The people who are really good, and the people who are really bad are really bad.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of us. We need more players. How do we go about getting more players? That's a question that I think Skunk Free was asking before.
Yeah. Getting I mean I guess that's an open question. Like
Yeah,
that's the eternal question, but I think having ranked would bring in more players, but I
yeah.
think all of us like old schoolers, I think we would have to have a few months where we pretend to be bad, and just any player that we encounter, we have to ease them into it. So we have this like transitionary period where we handicap ourselves, and that will bring in
Ah,
more people. It'll sort of, and then after that we turn on hard mode and just beat all those noobs.
I like that. Let's all pretend that we're horrible. Not horrible people, just horrible at the game. and then we'll let them in. Oh, this is a great game. I'm pretty good at this. And then 3 weeks later, we unleash the beast.
Yes.
Oh!
We trick those players. Uh
That's what we've got to do. We've got to hustle people into playing Worms Armageddon.
exactly. Put some money on the line too. Hey,
But that's a
$50.
that's a
Be me.
yeah, that's a question I would like to ask Cybershadow. It would be good if Dead Code was here as well. About implementing the ranks. How do you think you could go about that with so little play? Oh, no. That's what I wanted to ask. Sorry. I think that when Worms 4.0 gets released, which is probably a long time later, would that be released as just a regular free update, or would it be released as in like a brand new sort of game? Because I think re-releasing the game on the store with 4.0, I would be willing to pay for it. And I think if it's a re-release and it's got all those features that people have been looking for years, I think that's one thing that could potentially bring in a lot of players. I don't know if that's the plan. I don't know if anybody agrees with that, but what do you think about that, Cybershadow?
Well, I I agree with you in general, Lyle, and also something, and that's kind of a dream of mine too.
Yeah,
There's just a lot that would need to happen before that would be feasible. One of
yeah,
the things that would need to happen is that we would have to agree that it's a good idea, because there is a rather valid concern that such a release it would fragment the community.
yeah,
And one other concern is, I guess, if we would have two code bases that we wouldn't be sure what to do with.
Right. So like Worms 4.0, like the final version, like was that planned to be like sort of rewritten from scratch almost, or like was that, or like in a different language?
Uh, well, 4.0 is, yes, like what is 4.0? It depends on who you ask.
Oh, okay.
That 4.0 initially was meant just as a rather big update by that code, and I think it would have been on about the same scale as 3.8, I think. So, then I had a different idea of what it could mean, like, and I was a lot more ambitious than that, of course. That didn't happen yet. But essentially, I guess that code is, I mean, since he's so passionate about the game, he is more on the side of just keeping things together, trying not to fragment it. And if 4.0 is ever to happen, it would have to be like an incremental process, and probably not be a separate release, but it would just be a regular update. We would get to, step by step. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of ideas. Like if we did convince Team 17 to publish something on the store, something that we would make, and could we also convince them to allow us to do things like add a real-time mode, or adding content from the other 2D games, like one two team options, or one pro party missions, or like its warm pod feature, things like that. And these are not questions that I can answer, or probably anyone except Team 17 can answer.
Yeah, I mean that's fair because like they would have to make a big old marketing decision about, is this the right idea to release this old game? But I mean I don't even know if that's how, has that been done before? Because like people make remasters of games, people you know stuff like that happens, but we're sort of talking about a new and improved old game, which is,
yeah.
I don't even know what we would call that. This is it's almost unprecedented. I think
I
like
I don't know what other people feel like, but from what I've seen that is planned for 4.0, to me, that is worthy of a re release because I want to support the developers. I want everybody to support the developers. So I think that's something that I would love to see released through Steam, for example. And it would have like a 30, £40 tag, between 20 to £40 or something. Because I've already had 25 years. This is the 25th year anniversary of Worms Armageddon this year. And that's a special thing in itself. I've been playing this game since 1999, and there's quite a few other players who have. It's that old. So I feel like when we do get a release, I've had 25 years of fun, round about 50,000 hours with like community stuff, streaming, etc. as well, not just playing. That is worth what? How much did I pay for that? I bought it for maybe £20 back years ago. And then every time I've bought it since, it's been like 50 pence or £1 on a Steam sale. It's very worth the money.
Yeah,
Much worth the money.
we all owe somebody money, like basically.
Yeah.
We should be paying someone, whether it's you Cybershadow or Team 17. I don't know. We should
Yeah.
probably just have a monthly tip jar on Wormnet. Just like put a
Yeah.
little button.
Every time you fall in a Tsar Roper, you've got to put £1 in the jar.
Yes. Or it could also be a swear jar. So like
Yeah.
every time you make a mistake, every time you like drop an F bomb in chat, you gotta pay up.
Right. So sorry for interrupting you there, Ma Black. Another question from the chat from Nadal Dingo again. What is planned for the next patch, 3.9? I think Charles said earlier that there is actually a release date, or he said 3.9 allegedly has an announced date of this year. And Nadal Dingo wants to know if there's anything you can reveal that's planned for the next patch.
Story, no, I cannot. Not because but because I honestly don't know. Right now,
Ah,
Deco is at the wheel, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
right,
So it's entirely up to him.
right.
I can show you some of the stuff that I've been working on.
Absolutely.
That would be
Well,
great.
obviously, there's gonna be in the next release, but it's just something that maybe sometimes you'll see it.
Okay.
So yeah, if we want to do that now, Ma Black, you can do the thing where not Dead Code, Cybershadow can share its screen. So Cybershadow's going to give us a few demos of things that he has been working on. So yeah, this will be fun.
All right. Yeah, go ahead and share your screen, Cybershadow. Let's
All right,
transition
let me
here.
set up.
Yeah. There we go.
All right. So this is actually for this demo, you won't see a lot of anything special. But what is not visible is that this is actually running on Vulkan. And this is a new renderer that I've been working on for a while. And I'm hoping that with Vulkan, we'll be able to achieve unprecedentedly low levels of input lag.
Oh my god. Wait, could you explain what Vulkan is? Like, I don't even know what Vulkan is.
I mean, the only Vulcan I know of is in Star Trek.
Right.
That's slightly a different kind.
Yeah.
So when a video game wants to talk to a GPU and put things on your screen, it has to speak a specific language. And these languages are called graphics APIs. And there's been a few. So originally when this game was made, it only supported one, which was DirectDraw, version 7, I believe, or 8. And then more things appeared. So, 3D games started coming along. So Microsoft released Direct 3D, was part of DirectX. And then, Direct 3D was great, but it was Windows only. What about all the other systems? And that's how we have OpenGL.
Wait a
And
minute. There's
once
other
Armageddon
systems aside from Windows. I had no idea.
indeed.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Linux, Mac, and mobile phones too. So not iOS. iOS has its own thing called Metal now, I think. But Android uses OpenGL. And OpenGL is not something, I mean, you can use it on Windows too. And you can select it in Worms Armageddon, one of the options. And
hello,
Vulkan
Corey.
is, sorry?
Oh, sorry. Go on. Sorry, I interrupted and I shouldn't have. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. So yeah, Vulkan is a relatively new API and it's made by the same organization that created OpenGL, Kronos Group, but it is made, well, it is more modern. It is made taking into consideration the design of modern GPUs and the needs of modern video games. And it is a lot more low level. So
So,
OpenGL and Direct3D, they're relatively high level APIs, like you tell the GPU what you want to do. Vulkan is more like telling how you want to do it, specifically to the smallest detail.
so if you could put that in terms of a noob, how would you explain this to a noob? Can you summarize up what it does, what the benefits are to the players?
Sure. So this edition teaches Worms Armageddon to speak a new language with your GPU, which allows it to put things on your screen faster. And that will
Ah,
hopefully allow
ah.
less input lag.
Is that so? Because you're probably aware of the scheme B&G, right? And Dead Code, I know, has been playing around with increasing the frame rate, which makes notches impossible. But it will be an option, and that sounds like that could go hand in hand with Vulkan. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
So a little bit, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Video games, they have multiple components. And in Worms Armageddon, it's not as modular as you want to be, but it still has the rendering part, the input handling part, and the game logic. And all of these, in theory, they don't have to run at the same speed. Like right now, you can see it's running at 144-ish frames per second. I don't know if you can see that. There's like a small FPS meter.
I see it very small.
But that doesn't, yeah,
Where is it?
that's what,
It is
Where I
very
yeah,
can't
that's
tiny.
see.
the we added.
It's microscopic.
Yeah,
Is it at the top
that
of the screen, the bottom of the screen?
where the mouse cursor is. So right here in the top left of the window.
Yeah. 144. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Thank
that's
you.
the graphics frame rate. But if I start the game, well, it might still show 144, but that doesn't mean that the game logic is running at 144 frames per second. So that runs at its own speed. And for BNG, for notching, what would matter there is the game logic speed instead of the graphics speed. But with higher frame rate, you would be able to see more accurate updates on your screen faster and more accurately represent what's going on in the game logic engine.
Right, and we have so we have like tweening, which sort of like gives us like what a graphical interpretation like between frames, which is already like basically implemented, right? Although maybe not all
Yes,
aspects of it.
exactly.
I'm not sure if like
Indeed.
I mean I guess it's been implemented throughout the whole game, right? So or maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's we've noticed like since tweening was implemented uh, when was this? Like 10 years ago or like somewhere between like 5 and 10 years ago. But it's made the game a lot smoother looking. Some players have a slight resistance to it, but I think it's just been a huge improvement on the whole. Like everything looks smoother with tweening.
Well, that is a
Yeah.
question that KRD just came up with. So Cybershadow and Deadcode may or may not be able to answer this, but he's saying this is going to affect roping more than BNG. So I don't know really. I don't really know what you're saying. Like, I understand what you're saying. I don't understand how it's going to affect roping more than BNG.
I
Can
I
think
somebody
roping in
explain that?
general is very sensitive to input lag. Input
Right.
lag is, I mean, it is the time between when you press the key and you see the result.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that information, like from the keystroke, it has to travel a pretty long path, like across many components. And all of those parts need to be able to respond quickly in order to give you the smallest possible input lag.
right. And it's like even your monitor itself is a component, as I understand. Like with respect to input lag. It's like your monitor, your
Yeah.
system, the settings, whether you have
Uh,
VSync enabled
Calling
or
rate
disabled.
on your mouse. Yeah.
VSync, I always have that. I don't. Whenever I have VSync turned on, I get rips and tears while I'm playing. I do have a zero point 0.5 ms latency screen though, which does help with the delay. So KRD's saying, yeah, this is why right now I play the game at 200 plus unlocked FPS, but maybe with Vulkan I wouldn't have to.
The funny part for me is that I think even though I would love to see how like responsive this Vulkan um renderer is, like I feel like if I did that it would affect my roping. Like it would be I mean potentially in a good way. It's like I would have to get used to it, and less
Yeah,
input lag would always be better. But I do know anytime that I have to like adjust my roping by like even a frame, I just get so thrown
yeah.
off that I have to like for example, if I turn off assisted VSync, then the timing is like totally different for me. It's like it's just
Wait, you have that on?
I have assisted VSync on, which I don't even know the difference, but for some reason I need that on. It's just like uh I might have to eventually get used because I mean I think it is the slower option, but my hands are just used to it.
So Korojal is saying hello to everybody in the interview. What a wonderful interview. Thanks very much. Say hi for me and my friend Paulo Lavadio, if I've pronounced that correct. Hello there. Right,
What's
so
up,
let's
Corujao and
let
Paulo?
yes, Korojal. So let's let Cybershadow continue his explanation and his demos.
Sure. Do you want them all at once, or do you wanna like to
Oh
demo
yeah,
question, demo question?
I mean yeah,
Yeah,
let's
let's just get stuck in.
roll through them.
All right. All right. Well, second demo. Uh, where's my mouse cursor? So this build is a little strange, and it's aside from the Vulkan patch. Well, so on the Vulkan patch, to close that, the thing that is the next challenge there to get it out is that it works on my computer. I mean, my computer does give me lower latency than all of the other renderers. But to be fair, my computer is maybe not the average Forms Armageddon player's computer, because I use Linux and this is actually running under Wine. But maybe it will help others. Problem is that even though it works on my computer and even works on a Windows computer I tested on, it doesn't work on Deadcode's computer. He just has a black screen, and I don't know why. Until I
Huh.
can figure out that problem, I think we'll stuck with this project. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, second one is a little something weird I made like it was actually a long time ago. So I want to see what happens. Well, first a little background. So when Worms Armageddon starts the game, it has to do like a whole bunch of setup. It has to
Oh,
populate a
I'll just ask this quickly before I forget. Charles was asking, is there ever going to be the possibility of having Worms Armageddon on a mobile phone app, even if it's just Because one thing that I know a lot of people want is the ability to watch replays on their phone.
Yes, we would really like to do that, but it's probably, if that is ever going to happen, it's probably going to come as some sort of website.
Right.
Like
That would be
you would
fine.
a website and maybe not even just watch replays, but also, oh, this is loud. I need to stop the demo. I forgot how loud it was. Not just watch replays, but also maybe even spectate games in real time. I think that should be possible to build, and I'd really like to build that, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to happen first. Maybe I'll show some of that stuff later. So item number 2 is like, right. So Worms are gonna have to fill out a whole bunch of data structure when it starts. And when it reads the scheme file, what it does is that it actually has to, the scheme files, they're pretty small, right? It's like 280 bytes, something like that. But all of that information is really packed, and it just has really basic settings like the amount, power, frequency of crate drops of every weapon, things like that. But it doesn't describe the weapons themselves. Those are hard coded. Or are they? Because when you go from the front end to the video game, there's some glue code that takes this scheme format information and expands this into a really long data structure that it has a lot of, like it goes into large amounts of details about what a lot of parts of the game do, including weapons. So does anyone here remember the Fiddler tool?
Oh yeah.
I forget what the
I
fiddler.
think we were talking about, we've spoke about that a few times on the stream. Pretty sure we mentioned it on the Dead Code stream, and I think we mentioned it briefly during Bloopy's stream as well. Yeah, you've got someone to ban their Black in the chat.
So
yeah, let me do that.
this is essentially takes the weapon parts of data structure and it randomizes them. So I'm gonna.
Do you not have any do you not have any moderators for your channel, Black?
I'll just have to open it on my phone and kick that guy.
Yeah, needs to be banned. Right, so what we're looking at now.
It looks like a normal game. Except.
Well, what the heck?
Yeah.
What the heck is that? What was that? That was way cool.
My turn. Let's try something else.
What is going on?
That happened.
What?
And my turn is over.
Okay, this
you can't even see my face or Black's face right now, but what?
So we're having some weird blendings of like weapons going on.
Yeah. That was like it came out of the 2D and went in front of it, but was able to traverse through land without touching it, but still leave. Oh, that is cool. Oh, do you know what? Yeah, it's like he's mixing weapons together. Like it's like he used a flamethrower to launch a little projectile.
Okay, now you launched. Okay, you selected like bazooka,
that's...
but you launched a cascade of donkeys.
Yes, I just saw that.
Oh, okay.
A donkey.
Okay, now we have a flaming letter that leaves a trail of petrol. What do we call that one?
Oh, that is cool.
We should call that like the anthrax letter.
Napalm for your thoughts.
I've never seen these weapons before because every time you run
is that like Was that like a ricochet weapon? Oh, that's a great idea. A weapon. Well, obviously we get that with grenade, but imagine if you could use like if you had a. So we've got the pistol, right? The handgun. Imagine if we had like a magnum, like Dirty Harry used to use, and it's powerful when you shoot it, and it can actually bounce off the terrain like ricochet. Oh, that would be so cool.
Oh yeah, in Worms WMD there is a laser that does that. A Lucy. Wait, you just launched a worm from
What?
jetpack that leaves a trail of aimers behind it.
Yeah,
What even was? Oh my
what to
god.
do?
So
What like these are all cool, but it's like, what are you? Are you just? Is this basically you experimenting, or is there a purpose between what's hap? Oh, lots of health crates,
that's hilarious.
and
Oh my god. Anytime the aimers become like a weapon, that's insane. So is every time you fire a weapon, it's randomized, is that right?
Oh, it's randomized at the start of the game.
Oh, okay, okay.
So if you find a good weapon, you can actually keep using it.
That is in yeah, we've never had like a scheme where you have to figure out what the weapons do on the fly. That is so fascinating. Now you're turning invisible, firing a sort of a cow.
wow,
It's like a cow that leaves a trail of cows behind it.
that is cool. How we've got it's like having a sheep launcher, but you fire cows from it instead. That is awesome.
This is hilarious. This honestly, yeah, Team 17 should look at this too to get like new weapon ideas for the next Worms game.
Yeah.
The next Worms game should be 4.0.
It
Like,
should.
I think it really should. I mean, it would be at least now. Dead Code gave us the good news that you're getting more permissions to actually bring out releases when you feel like it more often, which is really great news. JSG was recently playing with jelly worms, so yes. The worm pot. Oh, hi,
Whoa.
Liam. Hello there.
Whoa, this is crazy. That was
What?
like okay, that was like I think that was like wait, a mail strike maybe that like it had sort of like the it was affected by wind.
Yeah.
Oh man. But it wasn't quite a mail strike.
That, oh, this
Yeah.
is no. This is. I
No,
don't know what
you're
this is.
fired
Whoa!
you fired a bunch of like objects from the terrain.
That reminds me of Sonic the Hedgehog because you had up, down, left, right, all the buttons and start, but you also had up, C, down, C, left, C, right, C, A, C, and start, which would make you. Oh, that is
Okay.
so cool.
So it really takes every possible like PNG from the game and just like uses it.
Yeah.
I want to see some clouds. I
So
want to see a cloud weapon.
I'm sure that if you play this long enough, you will eventually get it.
That one was normal. That was unfortunately normal.
I have no idea what just happened there, but I like it.
Yeah, and there's more of the same. I think the working title for this patch is mostly harmless.
So it's kind of like when I watch Zelda speedruns Ocarina of Time and they have what they call the randomizer, so things are in random locations. That's what that sort of reminds me of.
Yes.
Imagine Mablack.
Yeah.
Imagine how cool it would be to have a randomized Worms Armageddon speedrun.
That would be terrifying, but it would be kind of fun.
Awesome.
Like if I did that
Yeah.
for deathmatch or something. Cause like
That's what
it
that's
would
what Gregor says. It's like a randomizer on steroids.
you would have to adapt so much. I mean like you'd have to think of every possible thing the weapon could be before you fire it. And you'd have to be like super careful. But that would be fun. And every round it would be different.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a so like you said you were gonna surprise us. I wasn't expecting this. So you succeeded in was not expecting
Definitely yes.
a weapon randomizer. That's awesome.
Definitely Imagine Island Team 17 with that. That would be
Yes.
cool. Or Chaos. Chaos with the. Imagine Chaos being able to fire all those. Oh, that would be Chaos. That. Oh, Team 17 and Chaos would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do you have anything else? We want
I
more.
do.
Show me
All
what
right.
you got.
All right. So the third one, well, it's not very exciting, but it's something I've been working on a little bit. And it's
when you
something
say.
good.
Sorry, when you say it's not exciting, you realise that that gives me tingles because I know it's going to be exciting. And
Sure.
that's when you
Uh,
know it's going to be good.
Maybe. Well, it has potential, I think. So uh, we have a problem that we've been facing for a long time with Worms Armageddon development. The problem is that, well, it's the front end. I mean, everyone who plays Worms Armageddon knows that it's really different. It's always like this 40 by 480, and you have to choose in these modern times to either have it like blown up the entire screen and maybe not even work, or a tiny little window that just uh, really disproportionate to the game itself, or really how a menu in a video game should be. The underlying reason for why that has been such a challenge is the technology that Team 17 used to implement the menu. And they made a good choice at the time. What they did was something very clever. They used the interface builder that was there in the dev tools they had in Visual Studio. And they used that to essentially draw the Worms Armageddon interface right there. So if you wanted the button, you would just open a new tab and draw it. That allowed them to, I guess, build out Worms Armageddon very quickly. And that's the continuation of Worms 2, though Worms 2. The front end was like a form app. It kind of looked like something that you would build in Microsoft Access. But still, they took that and then they added this very nice skin on top of it. So this uh, add-on is called DXMCT. MCT is the technology that Microsoft has that gives all the interface. And they wrapped it in this DirectX layer that essentially makes it 3D and integrates it with DirectX. Allows you to have these nice effects like the star background and other nice
So,
things.
so what like you're using a lot of terms that I'm not familiar with. How what you've just said, what does that mean to the players in a sort of noobly summarized way?
Sure. So essentially, the front end parts of the menus of Worms Armageddon are written in a way that is very difficult for us to improve.
Right.
And we've tried to improve as much as we can, but there's still always a wall how far we can push that technology. The only way to surpass that is to look into different technologies. And one of the technologies that I've been considering is Flutter. So it's something that was created by Google initially because they wanted a way to build cross-platform apps for multiple devices, for mobile devices too, but also for PCs, Macs, and it's an up-and-coming technology. And I'm sure everyone here has seen the new, uh, the Ultimate Site by Monkey Island, and I'm pretty sure that is also written in Flutter, just to give you an idea what can be done in that technology. And
Yeah.
what I
Cool.
wanted to share you is just like, it's nothing, but it's still beginning. So this was me essentially trying to start to implement the Worms Armageddon theme or theme in Flutter and which should allow us to start building more complicated interfaces.
Oh,
Because
cool.
Flutter can also target web applications, so you can build websites with it. that allows us, in theory, to have one code base for user interfaces and maybe even more than user interfaces for things that we can use both inside the game and on websites, including maybe like an interactive WarmNet website where you can spectate games, view replays, things like that.
That is the
Well, that's
dream.
the dream
That is the
anyway.
dream
Yeah.
right there.
That would be
Dream
fantastic.
17. That's excellent.
Yeah, that would be
Right.
amazing.
Do you have anything else to show us, or should Mablack switch back to the other scene?
All right. One last thing.
Okay.
One last thing.
This is something I did a whole bunch of years back. I think it was in 2020 or 2019. And I should be clear that it's fair for me to say that this is 80% dead code and 20% me. This is just something I knocked out in a week, but a large part of this is something that dead code has been working on for months.
Let me go and get a towel to sit on.
And she gave me the okay to show it to you.
Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Dead Code.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me launch it.
Oh my god.
What?
Guys.
Oh,
guys, if you can't
Worms.
tell,
That is inside an Internet Explorer. Wow. That's inside a browser.
That's crazy.
Yes, it is.
So, not only that, if you guys can't tell, the worms are exceptionally smooth. So we have some looking like vectorized worms here. Is that right?
Yeah. All of the sprites except for the landscape are actually SVG files, which were created by tools written by Dead Code.
Sorry for interrupting. Mablack, is there any chance that you can get the webcam so it shows me and you as well? Because right now it's just showing Cybershadow.
I'm not able to show me, but I can show you.
Right. Ah, that's what you do. Right, okay. Is that good enough? In fact, you can just hide me if you want. As long as you... That is amazing, though. To get that in... That is amazing.
I mean, it's obviously just a very, very basic proof of concept, and there's a lot of glitches. And you will sometimes see a number instead of a sprite, which just means that that sprite hasn't loaded yet. So
gotcha.
It's also super inefficient.
Oh, gotcha.
It's just
but
a proof of concept.
Look, yeah, so this is a proof of concept. So vectorized worms, so basically this is going to allow us to be able to zoom in and zoom out, right? That's kind of part of the idea.
Yeah, or just play on super high resolution monitors without everything being super tiny.
That's incredible. So like at first I didn't even notice that the worms were vectorized because like the sprites look 100% normal. But yeah, they look smoother. But the worms still look exactly like the normal worms. So I'm really glad that there's no ascertainable difference between like the vectorized worms and just the normal more pixely worms that we normally see.
I'm glad you said that, because this is actually, please forgive me, Dead Code. This is actually using a very old expert using an old version of Dead Code's conversion, a conversion program, and he asked me to reconvert it using the very latest version, and I just didn't have time to do it this week because all of these sprites are packed in a format that I forgot how I created.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's like, I don't know if you've ever heard that meme. If you had me for 24 hours and you couldn't say no, what would you do? It would be play Worms Armageddon. That would be it. This every single week, sometimes even every single day, you learn something new. And some of these features that both Dead Code and Cybershadow have worked on, I've got to say, and I think I speak for a lot of the community, when I say that we are very, very lucky to have these two doing what they do, can never be thankful and grateful enough. So
Yeah,
thank
dude.
you very much for all your hard work, because this is amazing. To actually be able to play that on the net,
Yeah,
that, oh,
that part's incredible. Yeah, wouldn't it be amazing? Like if people could just like open a page and play Armageddon, it's like so many people would play it. Um, there's that aspect,
Yeah.
but I'm really
Well,
enjoying these vectorized worms. Like they look so smooth. I
yeah,
know.
and you can't do the one good thing about that is you can't do the sprite cheat if you're playing BNG, so it's complete, it'll be completely instinctual BNG. And I love that.
I sort
So
of like
KR,
that.
KRD is asking, is zoom in implemented here? Probably janky, but still, is it possible to zoom in and out?
I haven't implemented it, but it would actually be pretty simple to add. It is
Ah,
just a
cool.
variable in the source code.
Excellent.
Oh man,
I'm
that's so
gonna open
cool.
it in Teams 3.
Yeah, this is wild. Like I've been playing Worms WMD and like you can zoom in and out. It is a feature once you get used to it. It's like you really just want it to be there. Um and that is one thing like Armageddon has been lacking all these years. It's so cool to see that this is like underway. Um and yeah, it will also is it planned to have an option to make the worms like you can pick either vectorize or like classic?
Oh yeah, if we were to ship this as a feature, there would definitely be an option.
Yeah, because
Probably
some
more than one
people,
option.
that would be very interesting, because then people who want to play B&G instinctually can do so without having to worry about people who count out their shots. And then you've got the way that the classic way, where people who actually want to do it with notching and counting can see who's the best at doing that. It's always good to have the option rather than just have something new, different forced upon you. So yeah, it's I just cannot thank you guys enough for what you do. It blows my mind every time I see a new idea.
Oh, this is so cool. I also have to ask, was there some idea to vectorize like the landscape in some way or like there's no that's inconceivable.
I mean, we've brainstormed on how that could be done, but I mean, there's a few different ways it could be done. For example, we could vectorize just the graphics part, but leave the pixels alone, or we could make uh, graphics smoother somehow, but that would be such a big change in how the game plays. Sorry, the
Right.
actual physics.
So KRD's made quite an important point. So he's saying that this has got to be a lot harder to run hardware wise. So you probably need better hardware than the hardware to run the normal game. Is that correct? And if
Oh yeah.
so, could you give us a sort of rundown of what sort of CPU, GPU, RAM, etc. that you would need?
Well, there's a few ways that we could add vector sprites into the game itself. One is that we could simply just take the vectors and render them into higher resolution bitmaps. So not a lot would change requirements-wise. You would need more video memory, but I mean, the requirement for Worms Armageddon is something like 8 megabytes, so I think that should be okay for today, even if it were increased like several times. Another way to do it would be to actually make the game render the vectors as it's running. And there's a few ways where that could result in slightly smoother graphics. For example, that would allow us to not just the positions of sprites, which is what we do now, but the actual animation of sprites. And that would make all of the animations that the worms do, like when they jump or when they aim, uh, in theory, perfectly smooth.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
great.
But yeah, it would also be really technically challenging. For example, if we wanted to have good performance, it would essentially mean you would have to do it in a shader. And that is, has its own series of challenges.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it does sound like there would be a lot more technical challenges, like just anytime you're like dealing with vectors as opposed to just, regular old sprites. Um, but I mean, it looks amazing. Oh, I also have to ask, are the snowflakes also vectorized right now? It looks like they are.
They look very
So,
smooth. The
uh, I
background.
think I think nothing. If something is on screen here, except for the background and like some things like the little frames around text. So these are the only
Aye.
things that are made by pixels, and everything else is a vector.
I have a question. Um, I've actually forgot what my question was. Never mind.
Yeah, but yeah, it all looks really, really smooth here. Um,
That is amazing. Oh, ruffled bricks with the raid. What a legend! And you've came just in time to see some demonstrations from Cybershadow, one of the developers of the game.
Good
Excellent.
timing.
Oh,
Yeah, thanks for the raid, Ruffled. Yeah, we're doing the CWA podcast on my channel this month instead of Como just because of technical difficulties. And yeah, we're interviewing Cybershadow. He's showing us a blueprint for vectorized Worms Armageddon right now. So as you can see, the worms are vectorized. Some of this, like everything's vectorized except for like the landscape. And this isn't complete, by the way. Like, not all the sprites are vectorized, and this is kind of just a demo of what's planned for the future right now.
yeah, this is incredible. Like, you should have seen the other. Well, I'm sure you can watch it in. This whole thing will be uploaded to the CWA channel anyway on YouTube, so you can watch it over. But oh my word, just the things that Dead Code and Cyber Shadow dream up never ever cease to amaze me.
It's pretty incredible. Honestly, I think if a casual player sees this, at first glance they may not notice that the worms are vectorized because they look 100% like regular, Armageddon worms. But
Oh
like
yeah,
on inspection, you can tell like everything's very smooth. And if anyone's not sure, the part of the point of this is to allow us to eventually zoom in and zoom out while we're playing, which is something that Armageddon has lacked for a while. But also, there's just the coolness of seeing the worms like in a smoother form.
and if you notice, this is Worms Armageddon being played in an internet browser. It's not loaded as a game you normally do. This means that potentially in the future, we can be using and playing Worms Armageddon on mobile phones, on tablets, by just getting to the website. Have the capability to watch replays while we're traveling on a train or a bus. And oh, this is like this is groundbreaking stuff, and we are very lucky to have these two just pouring their heart and soul into the game. I could not be more grateful if I tried. Just, just
I would like to be
it's so
presenting
good.
this. I want to be presenting this at like a Worms Expo of some kind. Like just a big
Oh,
expo center. Just have a big old stage. We're showing this off.
invisible rope.
So, right. So
I did
some of
not
this,
implement drawing the rope.
right.
Yeah,
So once again, it's a blueprint. Not all of the sprites are rendered right now, but from what we can
yeah.
see, it looks super nice.
Oh, to be able to run worms from a website though. Oh, here goes the banana bomb. Let's see what that happens.
Yeah, red means there's no sprite attached. I haven't considered the vector for it.
There's also
Oh, it's
so
super
like
banana.
there are also like so many sprites to render. Like part of what like Dead Code and Cybershadow have had to do is they've had to like tackle this ancient program called Amiibo, or I think that's what it's
Oh,
called. Like which Team 17 made the original vectors in, but the program no longer works, so they had to like do all this backtracking to figure out how to even get the vectors to display. So it's been a huge ordeal. I think Deadcode talked about that on our when we interviewed him a few months ago. But wow, it's super
yeah,
cool. It's super cool seeing this.
Thank you. Super exciting showing to you. I'm excited about the future.
yeah. And I think you've just made a lot of other people excited for the future. This is groundbreaking stuff. Will the converted vectors be published ever? Asks Charles.
Mm. It's not up to me. It's nothing for me to answer that question.
So that's a question that will be for Dead Code or Team 17 then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to interview Martin
Right.
Brown at some point.
So I think you can switch us back to the other scene there, my black. And yeah, we'll get on with the remaining questions we had. So
Oh yeah,
talking
Cybershadow.
about
Can you click on stop? Or wait, do I have to click on something? Close
there
Yeah,
stream.
we
I
go.
clicked it.
All right.
Yeah, close it. There we go. Excellent. So since we were talking about patches and stuff, what is the craziest bug you've had to patch?
Ah. Tell me, have you seen the movie 300?
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. We have an internal bug tracker. Like, like on GitHub, you have create issues. Each bug has its own number. You want to take a
Uh-huh.
guess? What was the title of issue number 300?
This
I
is
remember
Sparta.
that's right. It was a real bug, and it could have been a better fitting name. The bug was
Madness.
it was invincible worms in deathmatch. And as it
What?
turns out,
Oh, wow.
sometimes the variable didn't clear out, and it caused that when you go into deathmatch,
Uh huh.
it caused the worms to be invincible.
What? Wait, this is actually really interesting as a deathmatch speedrunner because although that's you fixed it already. If we like had a category where we could like go back to a previous patch, that we could like exploit that, right? We could just like get invincible, like we could have an invincible deathmatch run.
That
Yeah.
is that's awesome. Very, very good.
Wow, that would be
Oh,
really fascinating. Oh my god, I've never heard anyone talk about that bug even, so I'm really surprised because I thought I had heard about like pretty much every bug that had existed, but
Might have been an alpha only bug.
oh,
You
okay,
should check if you can find it in the README changelog. I mean, might be there. It would be definitely be there if it was ever in a public version.
gotcha.
Yeah, that bug was found by Feral Fanatic, who created the WormSnap database.
Oh, FFE, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, I haven't heard about her in a while. Yeah, I haven't seen her in like I don't know, 10 years or so or 15. A lot of
Yeah, that
old
was a
players.
while ago.
so we've got one more question in the programmer stuff. If you want to ask that one, that's the because we've already done the last question there, so it's the second last one, my black.
Yeah, okay, just a general question. What is it about Worms Armageddon that has kept you invested in working on the game all these years?
I mean, that's an easy one. Definitely the community. Being able to build something together that other people can
We're
enjoy.
not worthy.
Not worth.
We're not worthy.
We're not worth. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, that's
Privilege.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess we should, and I also care a lot about the community, although I do have to, I always have to put an asterisk, parts of the community, not like, there's some people who are not as cool, but there's always a subgroup of like cool people who really care about the game and, are always doing cool stuff. And oh, Charles was asking like you had a break. Uh, was there anything that made you take a break around like, I don't know, 2020?
Oh, sure. There were a lot of rumors about that, and a lot of them weren't accurate. So essentially, what happened was, uh, well, I was a little burned out, but
Hmm.
also it was multiple factors. So we, at the time, we were talking to Team 17, and like we couldn't really get them to agree to like that we wanted them to. I mean, we did figure it out in the end. But also, like Jetco and I mean, we wanted a little slightly different things for the game. So he was more interested in improving the current version. I was more interested in trying to build something new, maybe a little different. But also, I mean, all of those, yeah, there were factors, but probably the most important one was a really boring one. It was just that was a point in my life where I had to decide what I wanted to do. Like, do I want to start a career, like start working on? I mean, you know how everyone in their 30s has this phase where, like, they figure out that they haven't caught up in a bunch of stuff and they have to go and fix their life. So that's
Yeah.
essentially that's what I've been doing for a while.
I'm in that phase pretty much at all times. I'm just like, okay, got to do something other than playing worms and making music, but I don't know. It's hard to break out.
That, yeah, that's about the same here. So a follow-up question. We've got two more questions. We'll ask KRD's first because he was first. Was it Cybershadow who fixed the dancing health bar bug?
Hmm.
I do remember that one, but I don't remember who fixed it. That was a funny one.
What was it? I don't remember.
I don't even know what
I
he's. First time I've ever heard of a dancing flame bar, health bar bug. I
dancing
don't.
shell. I remember a dancing weapon panel bug. And that was when we implemented being able to open it anytime.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. So like, yeah, it was like jumping around the screen.
Yeah, sometimes like come into view and then go out of
Oh.
view, like depending on your refresh rate or something like that.
So
Huh.
yeah, KRD meant the weapon panel, not the health bar, if that's right. So the other question was from Charles again. Can Hosting Buddy be open sourced?
Funny thing, it was open source for a little bit. So it started out as a project on SourceForge. Uh, but ever since we've kind of adopted it, so it was mostly me, but also other people. Byte, Maddie Workford, and some other people who were around. We started adding things to it. Well, it was me actually. I started adding things to it that you couldn't build it without having access to the Worms Armageddon source code. So it was things like there is a specific series of packets that Worms Armageddon has to send to transition between all of the different states that the game can be in. I mean, think about it like you you can host a game or you can join a game, and then in both cases, when you join the game, it goes through a bunch of steps like check the password. I mean, there was also a check for checking the copy protection, then get the teams, the people who are already in the game, and then to send the teams. Then when you start the game, well, first you have to light up, node that has to be kept in sync. Then when you
Hmm.
end the game, there's like a whole bunch of logic there to make sure that everyone exits the game before everyone can continue, so that you have to wait until everyone's game shuts down, like the graphic, like in-game part. And then there's like the logic for multiple rounds. And if there's a draw, then don't do anything. If like it's the end of the match, then go back to the scene. or you can, I think there's buttons to end the match early. I'm forgetting. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of logic in there. It was being really, really unpleasant and a lot of work, and I don't know, maybe even impossible to do without access to source code. So yeah, we cheated a little bit there. We did take a little bit of code from Worms Armageddon itself. Well, not code, but it was code inspired by the code from Worms Armageddon.
Okay.
And that was what allowed us to build hosting body and have it more or less work. Unfortunately, that also means that we can't open source it. But
Okay.
something I've been saying to everyone who asks, or everyone who sends me a question, if you have an idea, if you want to build something, a worm, a ranking, a cup or a league or a ranking system, or really something that would benefit from some kind of hosting abilities,
You
come to
know,
me. Yes, send me a
I
thing. I will be able to. I mean, I'll be happy to build the hosting part for you. And we did do that for a bunch of places already. So, for example, in Wormsam database, you see that there's a play now link that is using the same logic as hosting body. And I think we also built this for Tooth. I don't think they're using it yet. I think Monkey Island still wants to do the integration. And maybe something else that I'm forgetting. But it's not a big deal. I think that if you have a great idea and you already have like some kind of code working, you just want to integrate hosting into your project, and I'll be glad to help you.
right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Short answer, not really. That's true.
Sorry for like, but so we've got like. I do apologise. I'm up early tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So I've got about another 30 minutes to 45 minutes. So now we've got the player stuff questions to go through. So we'll start with them if you don't mind. Is that okay? Right. So who are the first wormers you met online and remember playing with?
Wow, that was so long ago.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to
I mean,
be
it
the
was people
literal
from the
first.
forum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lex definitely.
Lex.
Not worthy.
Lex,
Echo.
yeah.
He's always
Lex
there. He's
DRG, I believe.
he's part of everybody's Wormer origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Volcane from Team 17.
Oh, Volcano. Okay. Yeah. That was so wait, was that one of the few Team 17 like uh staff members that actually like played? Was that
I don't remember if he played, but he was on Warnet often.
okay, yeah.
We could chat with him.
That would be interesting. Actually, yeah, it would be interesting to also like to bring on like actual Team 17 staff too. That would be cool. I don't know if
Oh,
we
that would be cool.
yeah.
Do we not regard you? I mean,
I mean,
I
you're
think of Dead Code and
yeah.
Cybershadow as Team 17 staff
I mean, yeah.
because they're literally maintaining the game and updating the game. So I do consider them Team 17 employees, but
If
it
not
is more
more
of
than
a
that.
voluntary thing.
They're beyond
Yeah.
they're more Team 17 than Team 17. They've
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the real Team 17, please stand up. Right.
Uh yeah, did
Next
you
one.
yeah, did you play any leagues in the early days or were you like more into like just funners?
No, I didn't play competitive games much. That was kind of like, for me, it was a fascinating part of the community that, I mean, I enjoyed observing from afar, but I didn't really involve myself in that.
Same
Yeah, it
here. I
was
mean,
funners
yeah.
and yeah, experiment games like.
It's weird cuz like yeah, it's I feel like I could have gone that path like just never ever getting involved in leagues cuz I didn't for the first like 2 years that I played almost. It was it's cuz it does seem like kind of a weird like when you first play Worms, like leagues are not the main thing you're thinking about. You're just like, okay, I just want to have fun like playing this party game from 1999. But yeah. Leagues are a whole separate thing. But Worms is always interesting because there are always players who are like super interesting. They might be map makers, they might be doing other things, they might be playing funners, and then you have other players who are more focused on like the competitive stuff. But it's such a sandbox game that you can do whatever. Like you can have any sort of interaction or
I
experience you want.
Do you know, just to add to what Mablak was saying there, it's like I think of Worms Armageddon as an entire universe that was
Kind
created.
of.
And that universe continues to expand. And it continues to expand because of all the great ideas and stuff that people have. Oh, Chuvash, hello there. What a
Hey, Josh.
legend. Welcome in. Sort of forgot where I was going there with that. But yeah, I'll just leave with saying it's like a universe to connect to, and you get to meet all these amazing people. I'll leave it at that because I forgot what I was actually going to say. However, we will follow up with the next question. What do you personally feel is the most skillful part of Worms Armageddon?
I mean, when you word it like that,
In your
gosh. So
opinion,
in my opinion, the thing that keeps impressing me is the things that the community builds, like Project X and
Mm,
the real-time wars mod that was, I mean, the initial one created by Antuser, but also the new one. Also, all of the other stuff that people have built since then. I mean, it's really, I know, I know how much work someone needs to do in order to build something as comprehensive as Project X. It's a lot. Uh,
so I did remember my question here actually. So in an interesting way, Worms actually replicates real life things. We've got Waskar, we've got darts, we've got golf, we've got racing, we've got like strategic games, and there's something for anybody, regardless what walk of life. Most people I know either like strategically thinking, like logically thinking. Some people love their angles and accuracy and stuff, which is where the other one comes in. And some people are just very physical. They like to know that they're great at physical schemes. And yeah, that's why Worms replicates life in a way. You always get that. We've even got basketball, snooker, skateboarding with Warmer. We've got freestyle. It's The game continues to expand, much like our own universe expands, because the more people who connect and play games and make schemes and make maps and are just part of the community in some way or another. And that's what this podcast is for. Not just to celebrate players who are good, but to celebrate the developers, to celebrate the content creators. Everybody that's helped make this community what it is today is like a personal thank you from me and everyone else, because 25 years and the game just keeps getting better.
yeah, it's
And
crazy. But yeah,
beautiful.
I like that you said Project X. I mean, that does seem like a huge project. I don't even know what goes into that, but just the ability to modify the game at will is it's pretty incredible. Um, do you feel like that would be some like do you feel like an in-game like a weapon designer? Do you feel like that would be a good part of Worms, like where you had a little like in-game thing, you could create your own weapon, like create the sprites, sort of like an in-game editor?
hmm,
Oh, that would be cool. That would
yeah.
be really cool. You've got,
Wasn't
I'm
there like
thinking,
a 3D game that had something like that? Was it from 3D or sequel?
I am not
It had
sure.
a weapon designer. There was
Worms,
like a power gauge that you had to not go over.
Charles says Worms Mayhem's team weapon. I am
Yeah, I
not.
think that sounds right.
Okay, I still haven't played Mayhem, so yeah. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, I always feel like that would be sort of like the ultimate sandbox addition to Worms. Um, Worms
Yeah.
WMD does have this cool thing where you can literally design any sort of outline for your worms can basically wear a mask that can go over the entire worm. So you can basically create your own worm, which is very
Hmm.
cheap. You can create like a worm that is like it looks so different that you can't like figure out where to shoot. Like its head. Uh
Ah,
but yeah, anyway. Um I agree with
Yeah,
that answer. Project X, big part of Worms. It also brings in some of the weapons that were added in future Worms games, like magnets and stuff, which I'm starting to understand this like the strategic value of those things, and yeah, it's cool to see.
so that's we are talking about things that are implemented in Project X. But for me, the important part of Project X is the platform that allows building those things.
Hmm.
Because even if Project X was released without weapons, without magnets, just like the ability for scripting, then the community would build all of those things. But creating the mod itself that hooks into the game and allows then integrating a scripting engine into it, that requires a really unusual, incredible amount of skill and patience and time and effort. So that is actually something like if we were to make some kind of modding framework for Armageddon, probably how we would design it is to provide people, well, at least that's my personal point of view. But how I would do it is to give creators a platform that allows them to build something. And then the problem with Project X is that, well, it's not a problem, it's an unfortunate reality, is that it was created only for a specific version of Armageddon. So if you
Right,
want
right.
to use Project X, you have to downgrade.
Yeah,
And that is something that's unavoidable in how you create such in such advanced mod A. And we want to solve this problem by allowing people to write such mod in a way that will not break even in future versions. So if they create a mod today, that will continue working forever, hopefully.
one of
And I
the
think
yeah.
that
just
is the most
That'd be
important
dope.
part.
That'd be super useful.
what one of the things I think that at least for those who are interested in playing leagues competitively is the ability. I think we asked Dead Code this maybe actually. It's like, is there a planned release date or will it be included with 3.9 or is that more of a 4.0 thing where we would have the ability to, if someone drops from a game, rejoin the game at that moment where someone dropped and then keep playing? Is how are things looking on that front? If that's allowed to be talked about, even.
I mean, sure. And yeah, it's a difficult problem because if it wasn't difficult, we would have fixed it, right? And yeah, it's hard. One one reason why so one way to handle this in theory would be like someone drops, all right, pause the game, wait until they rejoin, give people the choice whether to continue the game without the player or to wait until they get the connection fixed.
It's a great
Then when
idea.
they
That's a great
yeah,
idea,
Yeah.
just having the ability to pause the game.
sure.
Yeah.
But I mean
A
the
group
devil's in the
pause.
details because you know once Armageddon networking, it works by it doesn't quite it's not quite sending the keystrokes, but it essentially it's almost the same thing. It sends things that happen, like worm moved right by 1 pixel, and all of these events they're broadcasted to all players, and all copies of the game that are in that multiplayer game they have to run those events simultaneously in sync. And that's why we say that when the game desynchronizes, when we detect that someone lost track. So like they skipped a page and suddenly on one copy of the game, Worm is supposed to walk on a mine, elsewhere they're somewhere else entirely. and we detect that when the game detects the situation, that's a desynchronization. Now, the problem with just pausing the game is that we don't always know whether the player who dropped at all of those events that we sent to them, and we might actually have to have some kind of code to allow them to catch up to send those events.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a little hairy. The code is definitely not meant for a lot of the types of things that we would like to do because it was designed for a specific purpose. The other approach, which is a lot more comprehensive, is to allow someone to even completely quit the game and then join an existing game and continue where they left off. That is a lot more complicated right now because there isn't really code to be able to join in the middle of the game. You would essentially have to have code take every little detail about the state of the game, like where each worm is up to subpixel precision, where each mine, what's its velocity, everything, like how many weapons every team has, everything. And be able to send that over to the player who just joined. And then make sure that once they join and they get all of that information, from then on they can continue to be in sync by playing all of those events that are broadcasted to everyone.
It sounds difficult.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, it's we want to do this, but it's
spam.
Sorry.
It sounds like it's really like there are quite a few schemes where dropping doesn't really matter. Like for example, a rope race we can continue, B&G we can continue, but it's things like Team 17, Intermediate, Chaos. If someone drops from a Chaos, then that means they've got to do so much work figuring out. My Black will explain this. He's part of the what happens when someone drops? Can you explain that, please? How you have to do all this counting and stuff like that.
Right. It's one of the only schemes where you stockpile weapons between rounds, so your weapons carry over. So it's a nightmare. We have a counting system. If you have like for each weapon you have, you get more points. The person who disconnected loses points. So you just have a little handicap, and it's like, okay, if the point difference is such and such, a player has to skip one time. If it's really high, they have to skip like 2 turns in a row, and then the game starts, which is really, really imperfect. It's a lot better than nothing, but yeah, it is one of those schemes where it's like, yeah, we really want to continue the game from where we left off. I think it's probably the one scheme where that matters the most, but it would also matter in like, intermediate, B&G, any scheme really. It's not as much of a problem as it used to be though, with everybody's internet connections have improved like drastically, compared to the early 2000s where your mom would pick up the phone and then you're suddenly disconnected on a dial up.
Yeah.
Still remember those days.
I still remember the horrible sound.
Nightmare.
When you're trying to connect to the internet. That was hard connecting because I remember when I was playing back in 1999 and when I got into warmers, all the best warmers in the world were from America or Canada. There was a few from like Britain as well, but for the most part, worms became huge in America. And so most of the best players were from America. There were some from France as well, but I used to stay awake so late and see trying to connect to the internet. I actually had to put a whole blanket over my PC and try and muffle the sound because it made that horrible sound. What was it? 28.8K dial-up or then it was 56K dial-up?
Yeah.
Those modems have like a switch or something to turn that off.
Yeah,
I think the reason they did that is so that you could hear like if someone on the other side, it wasn't the computer, but it was the person that picked up the phone, or if like it was a fax machine.
Yeah. Oh god.
Right. Next question, my Black. You're up.
What? Okay. What is your favorite scheme, and has it changed over the years?
Uh, hmm. Let's say that my all-time favorite is probably Walk for Weapons.
Oh, okay. I
Ah,
didn't know that.
It's nice and
interesting.
relaxing. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't play competitively, but I think it's fun.
It
And
is
Team
a, yeah,
17 is always fun.
that came into popularity. I want to say, wasn't it like around 2000? Like it was sort of a late. It was definitely like 2000, somewhere between 2007 and 2000 like 10. I don't remember. There was a period where Walk for Weapons was like very popular. If anyone hasn't played it, you like have a map where there's little pictures of weapons. You have to stand on that picture in order to be able to use that weapon. It's very interesting. And people are not really playing it that much at the moment, but it's a fun scheme. I had fun playing it. I
Yeah, you have to have a good map.
you do have to have good maps. There's
Yeah.
some maps that were very, very, very unfair. Um, just like
I've played it a few times. It's fun. It's a fun scheme.
yeah, there are a couple maps where it's like you get to one square and you bogart that. You just completely take over that square and no one can get near you. It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
fun though.
and everyone teams up against you.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So I think this is going to be one of the most interesting questions, especially. I think KRD is going to appreciate this one. So, was it true that you used to play tool assisted Team 17s with Dead Code, where you could each undo moves until you had the optimal game? Is that true or false?
I don't know. I mean, we played around with Code Theoretic stuff for a while. No, I think that's something Deadcode played a lot, but I don't think it was with me. It was something
Honestly, I could be
we
thinking of
called it
something
Worm
else.
Chest.
I was pretty
Yeah.
sure that this was a thing that happened, but either I'm misremembering or he just played these with someone else.
Also, KRD's saying, was that Cybershadow? I think Dead Code did that with Not Worthy once. I don't even know who Not Worthy is, but we're not worthy.
Yeah. Maybe it was okay. Well, never mind then. I mean, it was just an interesting thing I remembered in the back of my head. Uh like undoing move like you're like, "Okay, I'm going to do this move, but then because he does this move, you get to take back your move." So like, I don't know. I'm sure
Yeah,
it seems
it's an
like a
interesting idea.
yeah, it does seem like a fun exercise, which I've never been able to like. I've never done that myself. It seems like it would be another cool way to play worms, but it would probably only appeal to like some really weird chess people, you know.
Maybe. So here's the thing, though. When you use the tool-assisted version, it's really a lot of work to get the perfect move. It could be like, I mean, move where the turn is like 30 seconds. You could spend like 5 hours on like perfecting those 30 seconds.
Right,
So
right.
that's where someone can just undo it. Sounds like so mean.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, that is another thing like it's easy to say like, "Oh, this is the optimal turn," but I mean like from doing like speedrun stuff, it's like sometimes even just like one turn you can spend like days or weeks like doing it over and over and seeing that oh there's more improvements here. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, well we can move on to the next question. Oh, I'll just ask it. So for all of the history of WormNet,
Oops.
did you have a favorite era of worms? Like I usually categorize it by leagues, like the early days of WACL, CL2K, and then First Blood was like 2000, I don't know, 7 or something. Was there any like era of worms that was your favorite?
Well, I didn't pay much attention to the. I would say definitely when the Team 17 forums were active.
Yeah, I did love those
Yeah.
forums. I loved the fan art that emerged out of those forums. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people, there were some like really talented artists who would just like post all this like Worms fan art. Um, a lot of it was super cool, and I'm sure a lot of people are still making Worms fan art, but that was kind of a hub for it, and that was like I don't know. I want to see like more of it. Maybe there's a Discord somewhere where people are still doing that. I don't know.
There was actually something that became quite. It was a bit of a meme recently. Um, I'll find it later at some point and share it in the Discord channel if I remember. But there was a picture of a man who had his. If I go to the side, you've got your normal chin sticking out. This guy, his neck was in line
Right?
with his chin, and he was bald. And there was a meme made about him because he actually looks like a worm.
Yes,
He literally,
I did see
you
that.
know what I'm on about? Yeah, yeah,
I did
yeah.
see that. It's probably
Did
the
that.
first if you Google like man who looks like worm, it's probably that. Like you'd probably find it pretty fast.
Could you do that? Right. I'll ask the next question. If you could find that just to show the chat, and I'll ask the next question.
Oh wait, yeah, let me see.
So, Cybershadow, what's your favorite Worms achievement? What is the achievement your the favorite thing you've contributed towards the community, or what you're most proud of presenting to everybody?
Well, yes, it's the warm net stuff, right?
That was an
I
easy
think that,
one.
Yeah.
yeah, that or worms to did info. Probably the warm net stuff was the most impactful. I mean, all of the bots running there, the let's see, hosting body, brief bot, uh, and was what else? Yeah, the warm net 2 is kind of part of it, and then there was one more. I forgot. Yeah, that stuff.
That's brilliant. So, right. So, looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations for Worms in general? Can we make Worms Armageddon last forever? So, when I'm an old man, 70 years old, if I get to that age, will I still be able to sit down and play B&G?
Huh. That's a good question. This gives me the opportunity to plug something I've been working on Armageddon side.
Oh.
Ah,
So it was something I wanted to kind of demo today, but I didn't prepare it. So you know how well you hear about these projects, like someone discovers in some long forgotten archive a copy of the source code of some game.
uh-huh.
Fantastic, great, right? It's a historical relic. Well, not so fast. Source code, I mean, it's great to look at, but you can't really use it because if you wanted to actually take the source code and build it, maybe make some modifications and build it, and like get a copy of the game that you can actually play. Well, to do that, you need all of the tools, like everything, all of the programs that take the source code and compile it and link it and they package it and into something that you can then run. And sometimes those tools can be lost to time just as easily as the game itself. Or it's just even if the tools are public, sometimes becomes a complete nightmare trying to find the exact versions of the tools that are compatible with the source code. One project I did, I was last year, was that I started using new technology that I heard about. It's called Mix. So what it does is that allows you to specify completely exactly every bit of software that is used in a certain process. And for the purpose that I used it, it was for building the game. So now, yeah,
Sorry, I've just seen it. That's the one. That's the one. He's got,
Here's the guy on screen.
that is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. He's got no chin.
It's a beautiful chinless man just on screen.
Yeah, that is
Per-
brilliant.
thank you.
So sorry for interrupting you with laughter, but I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah,
Right, sorry, you were saying Cybershadow. Sorry.
sure. Yeah. So now, if like there's a rock fall, everyone dies kind of situation, then at least if someone uncovers the copy of Worms Armageddon on my computer, they will also, along with it, cover the exact instructions in computer readable language for how to build everything.
Hmm.
So maybe Worms, I'm hoping that this will make Worms Armageddon at least a little bit more future proof.
That sounds
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Um, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, because like it does seem like so many things can go wrong when you're trying to like preserve something. Like like we have Worms 2 right now, and someone came up with like Worms 2 plus. Steps worked on that, and it all works fine for the most part. But with new systems and like Windows 11 and like as things progress, like new bugs start to emerge, and it's like we've been needing people to like update that. So like Carl Mundo has helped keep it like you know relatively crash free for all the people who are like currently using it. And it's like you really just need some way to like preserve things in a uh what was you said future proof way. And I was also I was also surprised to hear recently like Worms 3D is like abandonware at this point. So it's like you can't even play it. You have to like download it from I don't know some sketchy site or something. I don't know.
Wow.
Uh, I think I still have an
Weird.
unopened copy of that at my parents' house, still in its plastic
Oh,
wrap.
that's quite cool because I've got my. Hold on. Just keep talking.
Sorry, I removed the worm guy. It's covering up the chat.
So I've still got this original one, and the
Ooh.
last time I was down at Mental's house, I bought these three. So Worms Armageddon, Worms 2 and Worms Armageddon, and then Worms 2.
Oh my god,
Nice. Good
Well,
call.
50 pence each. 50 pence you can buy Worms Armageddon for.
man, it's
The
ridiculous.
problem is, those are DVDs, CDs. So you need to have. You can get like an external DVD player to hook it up, but right. So ask him about hosting this. Oh yeah, yeah. So Shadow. Well, Mab, you ask. You asked you to ask.
I just actually I closed my questions already. Sorry.
Ah,
What's
right.
you can ask it?
So, if you're aware of CWT, Crespo's Worms tournament, I think is it Kilobyte who cannot, or sorry, Zemke can't host it anymore. And we're a little bit worried that there's not going to be a CWT this year, which would be the first year that it hasn't happened in 20 odd years. Is it
Oh, true.
possible to host CWT on the worms2d.info server? Could that ever happen?
I mean, just put the website on it. Sure, we can do that. And still
Oh,
need someone to take care of it.
yeah, that would be great because yeah, a lot of people want to play that every year. It's the most prestigious event of the year in Worms. Every year it happens, and we normally cover that, and it's great.
What is it?
It's usually fun.
So it usually starts on September the 1st, or that's when the sign-ups start, I believe.
Right, yeah.
Mablack knows more about that than me, so he's better explaining it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's just the intermediate tournament, but yeah, it's been closely associated with like the normal no noobs league.com. And when did it first start? It first started in like the early 2000s. It's just been a yearly thing. Sign ups start in September. We usually
I
start on
think,
we usually start the actual tournament like October, I think.
if I remember correctly, it started on Worms World Party in 2002, and then they moved over to Worms Armageddon because we actually had this conversation when Dario was on the podcast. So if you
Right.
want any further information about that, go watch the Dario interview. And what I'll do is I'll get the link for you right now. So if anybody's got any more questions, Well, I'm going to be here for another 15 minutes. I need to go after that. If anybody's got any questions, then yeah, just ask in the chat and we'll ask.
No questions
That's when.
emerging. But
So if any, I am. There we go. So there is the link for episode 3 with Dario. So real time capture the flag on huge maps. I remember Cybershadow enjoying those.
Ah, yes. That was
oh,
fun. That was using Enfield with real-time mode.
I've never done. I actually still haven't tried the real time mod. I should do that. Um,
It's pretty decent. It's
yeah.
pretty decent.
Actually, capture the flag. That does seem like the perfect thing to do in real time because that's kind of what it's. Because like you want to be able to like infiltrate their base while they're infiltrating you. That does seem
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah.
What we used to do was to take just regular old maps and then upscale them 4 times.
Yeah.
That yeah, that increases distance a lot between, but also give you a lot like room to create a strategy while you're on the approach.
Man, there's
Yeah.
like yeah, real-time worms would be like a new game basically. Like getting used to all the strats and stuff. And to
Oh,
some
but
ex
rope racing.
yeah,
Rope racing would be. All the
that'd be insane.
racing schemes would be absolutely phenomenal. But I do think, like, it's in a way, strategic games could become a little bit like Age of Empires. The way that you're building. Imagine a sort of, if we had real time, a sort of fort mode where you've got to build your fort while they're building their fort, and you can collect resources in crates to get the stuff to build your fort, and then at the end there's this big all-out war. That would be cool. So the things. Also, I remember saying this to Mablack, and I asked Dead Code, and I've asked a few people mixed opinions. But if we could have 9 worms in one team, because that would be free, free, free. I just don't know why, but things are great in freeze and free freeze. I think 9 worms in one team would be a great counter to. So, for example, in Chaos, you have to play 8 worms and it ends up going up to a best of 15 because it's that. I think if they had 9 worms each, they would be able to reach that conclusion faster.
Possibly.
But
Um
But that was just a random idea I had. I've got no idea really if it would be useful or not. But yeah,
I think teams are always gonna be 8 worms each because
yeah.
otherwise, I mean, if we add one more slot, it means well, now everyone has to go into their team editor and add the name for the 9th worm. But what we could do is to allow you to add more teams and then make those act more like single
Oh,
unified team.
yeah, you've just
hmm.
reminded me. That's a question that I wanted to ask. Will there be the possibility, or I think it's more of a question of when rather than if, we will be able to have more than 7 players in the lobby and 6 teams playing? Will there ever be a time where we can play on huge maps with up to like maybe 16 people playing at the same time in one game? Will that ever be possible? Something like that?
I think that's doable, but also, do you really want to wait for 15 other people to have their turn before your turn?
Right.
That would
Yeah,
have to be a scheme like Hysteria
it'd
then.
have to
That would
be
have to be a very fast. Yeah.
yeah.
Hundreds, but that's something that would be very good is hundreds of spectators. So 8 teams, I think would be great. But having lots of spectators being able. So one thing that I think was discussed before is, and I think we talked about this on the Dead Code podcast, is I host a game, for example, right? And while I'm so if I host a warmer, right, and I'm sitting warming with Old Sock, and then Mablack sees that game, he can join the game while it's active and can even team in if we give consent to team in, and he can join us and then he can leave. It would be amazing to be able to join games that are already in motion, even as just a spectator. That would be great.
Yeah, that's
Didn't
something else.
Nizikawa do? I don't know. I haven't followed his work for quite a while, but that sounds
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
13 is an interesting number because I think 13 is the internal hard limit and 7 is just a soft limit. It
Ah,
might raise the soft limit up to the hard limit.
Okay. Yeah, I think like for spectating, like I'm not sure how that would work, but like if there was a way to like have the game sort of be like streamed to like a web browser somehow, and like you could spectators could kind of just like join
ah,
the web browser
Yeah, yeah,
version,
yeah.
yeah.
something
And
like
he's
that.
smiling. He's smiling because he knows that that's something that's possible. That's great.
Yeah, I mean,
Brilliant.
not sure about mm, possible yet. Definitely something I have been thinking about for a long time. So yeah, great
Yeah,
point as
that
well.
would be cool. Because it's like we already have like such a cool like replay system where we can like see replays of any game. It would be cool if we could just like have a web browser where like anyone can just like join any game, or at least that they're allowed to join.
Ah,
That's
right. So Cybershadow, Korean Red Dragon, wants to ask you about that time they
hmm?
sort of did that with David during a CWT final.
Right. That was a one-time hack that surprisingly worked. So
Oh, I don't remember that.
yeah, I mean that's not something we can skip, but just something that we pulled off in the middle of a moment, and the I forgot how we did it. Essentially, what we did was that I had the event that the game had already sent from game in progress, and I wanted Deadco to be able to view it live. So I sent him, I streamed to him all that those events. I think it was a replay file. Yes, it was a replay file, and then we hacked it so the game. Deadco hacked the game to not quit when it reaches the end of the file. Instead, just keep pulling more data from it. Yeah, that allowed him to spectate the game without having had to join it from the beginning. But it was done. It wasn't spectating like he was a network spectator. He was spectating it like he was watching a replay file of it.
Okay.
Ah, there's
Ah,
death code in
David's
the
in the
chat.
chat.
Aha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hi, David.
So he's saying Cybershadow made the replay file accessible from an FTP server I could connect to, and I patched the game to be able to stream a replay from a file that was still being written to.
Wow. That sounds
Very,
impressive.
very clever. Very, very yes.
All right. Yeah. Now.
So now we've got the dynamic duo here.
Yeah. So we got a blueprint for how this could work. I don't know. It's
So
all over my head.
if anybody has any more questions that they would like to ask Cybershadow, please do so quickly. Yeah, that is crazy coming up with that. Not they didn't plan it ahead. They didn't make it ahead. The fact that they just improvised it on the spot, that is impressive. And also very cool. I wished I could have been there to see it. But yeah, if nobody else has any questions, because my mind's blank. Any more questions, my black? Anybody got anything?
No, here. Is there anything you want to wrap up with Cyber Shadow? Any just anything about the future of Worms Armageddon or anything about you yourself?
Well, not really. The thing that I want to work on next from Armageddon
hmm
was more web stuff. And well, there is some change that's upcoming, and I don't know when. So we actually have a little bit of a situation. hosting body is running as well as it can now.
Mm-hmm.
It's running off of my home, it's running through my home computer. Because it's one of the IPs that I think it was still Vulkan. The Vulkan whitelisted on the WarmNet server. Problem is that my internet service provider called me like a month ago and said, "Hey, we're switching everyone to fiber optic. Your IP is gonna change."
Oh.
That's a bit of a problem for hosting body.
Oh.
So that might push some plans a little bit faster, which is to work out a better solution. And I think that's gonna be to help move the community over to the community WarmNet server. It has been running for a while now, but there's no reason to use it right now, so nobody's using it.
Mm-hmm.
But we might be in a position that we were gonna have to use it in order for people to be able to continue to use tools like hosting body.
Gotcha. Okay, so that is potentially happening in a month or something. Um,
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
Not sure.
Uh,
It's
I'll let you know.
all right. Keep us.
So we've got a
Yeah.
sorry. Finish my black.
Oh no, I was just saying. Yeah. Keep us in the loop.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But it's a bit of a downside because it's gonna be painful for everyone. I mean, we're gonna have to tell everyone who is playing this game for 15 years gonna now have to find out somehow that the WarmNet server they've used all the time, I mean, it's not gonna be the same experience as before.
yeah.
But the plus side is that, well, with the community server, we can also build more better stuff. We can add better integrations. We can add, like, integrate with player-run leagues or websites like the US, or even have some kind of ranking or you know, better hosting body integration, so you don't have to type weird commands, things like that. So I'm hopeful for this will lead to a better feature for Armageddon in the end.
Thank you for that. Charles has a question off topic, but well, it is sort of kind of on topic. This is a question for everybody, so Cybershadow can answer his. What are your thoughts on hedge wars?
I have a lot of respect for hedge wars. If what happened wouldn't have happened, if Lex hadn't made this nice post promoting me to Spage, if Spage hadn't been there to agree to using the source code, if Deco hadn't been there to, be the first to start working on this game as part of the community, I probably would have been like a hedge wars developer.
Ah,
Instead, I really admire open source. I mean, I use open source software whenever I can. So, and the stuff they build, some of the stuff they build is genuinely cool. Like their WarmNet server is not, sorry, their multiplayer server, not WarmNet, but their equivalent, in Haskell, a really, really cool programming language, completely pure and functional. They have scripting, which we don't. They have cool stuff like portals.
They have
Really
portals?
interesting how that they built. Yeah, they have a portal gun.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's a mod, but it's just an example of the cool stuff, the cool technology that they've built out. We are like in some ways we're limited by not just technology, but also that we are very adamant at preserving the spirit of the game. So one thing that we would never do is to invent a weapon and add it to the game. Because that would be like
Yeah. I mean, it'd be
some
like
of the
too
greatest
much.
hubris.
Yeah, I do like the
Yeah,
idea of a portal gun. I would like to see that in Worms, but maybe a future Worms. Team 17 has actually done collab weapons, like in Worms WMD. They have the car from Rocket League. They have a Team Fortress related weapon, a Team Fortress sentry gun.
doesn't Project X have that portal gun?
maybe.
Oh,
Yeah,
I haven't checked it out.
yeah.
That sounds really
Oh yeah,
strategic.
Charles has just literally said Portal Gun was a thing in Project X. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Thanks
makes
for that,
sense.
Charles.
cool.
Right. Thank you very much for your time, Cyber Shadow. A lot of insight into the game there. I hope we can look back on this episode. I'll probably download it. I can take the audio out and perhaps fix it a little bit in the bits that were a little bit off through my Cubase software, and then upload
Oh,
that later on as an episode.
if you want to do that, yeah, sure. Yeah, but we can go ahead and close out here, I think. So thanks for joining us, Cyber Shadow. This was really informative. I super loved seeing the vectorized worms
Oh yeah,
and the crazy weapon randomizer mode, which I'd love to play that. So
oh yeah. Imagine a speed run with that. That would be really cool.
it would be I don't know if it would be a speed
Interesting.
run. I think it would be a slow run because you would have to figure out everything on the fly, but it would be fun, and I would do
Yeah.
that.
You could almost call it a chaos speed run.
Yes, that's it. Chaos percent.
But since Dead Code is in the chat watching as well, I just want to give from the bottom of my heart, every fiber of my being, thank you both so much for what you've
Yeah,
done for the community. Because
major things.
without you guys, we wouldn't be here having this conversation. And it's not only an honor and a privilege. I'm super grateful to have the chance to bring you guys on here and share your story with everybody. And we will have that preserved now. And so thank you both for your time coming on the podcast. And yeah, we're going to continue to get legends of the game, whether they're players, map makers, historians. What's the word for someone who keeps track of history? Is it just a historian? Like Foxhound and Corydex and people like that. So
Sure.
yeah, just thank you so much for doing what you do, and we're excited for the future. And that's it from me. So I'll leave my black to wrap it up.
All right, closing it out.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks Cyber Shadow for joining
Thank
us.
you.
We'll
It's a pleasure
potentially
chatting with you.
yeah, it's been great. We'll potentially see you guys next month. It's usually a monthly thing, but we'll figure it out. All right. Peace out, everybody.
Ciao.
Cheers.